take us back to the beginning of your career because, I actually don't know this about you, even though you and I have known each other for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I know how you actually got started in the HR field to begin with, why you chose that path.
Well, when I started working, HR wasn't a career. HR wasn't a degree you could get. It was personnel. And it was very transactional. You were doing all the forms, right? You were doing all the administrative part. I kind of came into it through office management and production. Production is where I learned my project management skills in a PR firm. And I continued that with office management, which includes HR. And I kept falling back into the HR and recruiting arena. And I came to a crossroads where I needed to choose. And there were elements of recruiting I liked, but I didn't want to do it full time. So I went HR, and probably at the time I didn't even know what that meant. And I was recruiting with Coopers & Lybrand in 1998. I had just had my first child. And Coopers & Lybrand and Price Waterhouse merged July 1st, 1998. So I got hired as a PwC employee in San Francisco. And it was in recruiting. And that was great. And then I had my second child. And my husband's from Boston, so we transferred with the firm to Boston. And that's when I had to choose recruiting or HR. And they had a large compliance tax practice that nobody internally wanted to support. So they had to get somebody from the outside. So I totally oversold myself to be a tax HR manager.
Oh, okay.
And it was phenomenal. I was 4 years in this huge market surrounded by an amazing HR team with mentors. And that's kind of where I learned not just, all the functions of HR, but the business side of things, because we were responsible for scheduling and analyzing the utilization reports, and we helped run the day-to-day operations with the partners.
Mm-hmm.
So I loved that because it challenged me. And I consider myself a business person first, HR second.
Sure.
So it's good to marry that. And a lot of HR professionals don't make the transition from transactional functions to strategic. And I feel very fortunate that I had the training and the opportunity to do that. After, I'm going to continue.
Yeah,
10 years at PwC in 2004, we came back home to Portland. So I transferred to the Portland office and was able to bring everything I learned there to a smaller office. Thought I would retire there. I loved it. Loved the firm, loved the training, loved everything about it. And they restructured in 2007. I stayed. And then I actually left in 2008. And I can remember in 2007 and 8 when I was thinking about it, it was such a big company and we had national spoon feeding us, right? Here's what you need to do. And it's also where I learned to question national,
mm-hmm.
right? And question things and not just take everything at face value. But I can remember feeling, if I go to another position and I'm not spoon fed, if I'm on my own, I won't know what to do. And by 2008, it's like I knew what they should be doing and they weren't doing it. At least I felt that way.
Sure.
And so I was ready. And I wasn't happy and I couldn't, you can't recruit when you don't believe in it. So it was a very hard decision to leave and I left. And so that was 10 years ago. And I have had several positions since then and other public accounting firms, a financial services firm. And for a while I was beating myself up because I had so much longevity, 5 years, 10 years, and then 2, 3, less, whatever. But as I got through those 10 years, there was such value in having that exposure and those different experiences and seeing different businesses and different cultures that really enabled me to do what I do today.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the longevity is an interesting thing because it's something that I've seen a lot that professionals will they'll start out their career with a lot of years at one or two places early on, um, and then after they develop some professional executive skills, their tenures start to be shorter, and they move around to some different places for shorter periods of time, unless they kind of find that forever place, which sometimes happens too. But I've kind of thought, in a sense, at least in my own experience, that especially when you're working with small businesses, is that there is a practical life cycle to the work that we're doing, and we go in and we fulfill our mission, and then we leave and we pass it off to either other professionals or we pass it off to inside managers and executives, and they kind of take over what we're doing and go from there. And part of it is probably just the economics of it, because as we develop a certain skill set, the rate that we command is too high for a lot of small businesses to sustain long term. They're the only people who are making that rate on a regular basis are the very top executives, or perhaps the owners themselves. And so that kind of pushes it into the short term, do some work, do some consulting, and leave kind of situation.